Robert Zinni here with Five Senses. Today I have Patrick Grady, a long collaborator of the climate movement here in Prescott, one of my favorite people that I've interviewed throughout the years. He is now repping a new organization called Protect, and he'll give us an update of Earth Week. So sit back and relax. Welcome back to Five Senses. I'm Robert Zinni. Today is one of my favorite environmentalists here, Patrick Grady. He's repping a new organization, and we're going to talk about Earth Week because it's that time of year where we all should be focusing on our climate and what's going on a local level. Patrick, how's it going?
Good, thank you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think every year around this time, I get to see you.
Exactly, it's a good thing.
It is a good thing. We used to get beer all the time at the Raven. Now you just come to the studio and have some water or coffee and hang out, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's been a year, but Earth Week's coming up, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I really like your shirt.
Thank you.
Is that your new campaign, or because you're the chair for the campaign, right?
Right. So it's called the Protect campaign. It's planning for the resiliency of our towns, the environment, climate, and tourism.
Wow, that's a huge name. Thank God you can
Protect, you can remember. Right. So we always have to give a reminder of what it actually stands for. But the intent behind the Protect campaign is several-fold. And I think the first fold is that we're concerned about climate impacts that are here now and also impending for the future here in our community, whether it be the continued long-term drought or hotter temperatures, the propensity for more flooding, after fire flooding, and wildfires. And so what we chose to do was to create a campaign. And we was the Yavapai Climate Change Coalition and our various organizations, because we felt just having a one-off event here and there or one-off talk here and there, simply wasn't moving the needle sufficiently. And so we decided to create a multifaceted campaign that we kicked off last July with the goal, a very specific, quantifiable goal, is that we wanted to persuade, cajole our Prescott City Council to take action and undertake a climate risk assessment for the Quad Cities region.
Okay.
And we can talk today a little bit more about some of the progress that we've made in that regard. But that was our primary goal, to undertake a number of events and sub-campaigns, like a postcard campaign that we have, petitions, signatures, and the like. So I think it was a good move on our part, and candidly, with the city council election, that elected a new mayor and two new city council members on August 3rd, we're finding a very receptive city council audience, and that's really a breath of fresh air for the local climate movement. And so we're trying to take advantage of that.
Okay, so you started the Protect campaign last July.
Yeah.
You helped 3 people get on city council that is climate minded, especially in the arid desert that we live in.
Right.
And this is your second year coming, and did you get the city council approval? It seems like you're working really fast with this campaign.
The campaign's been moving along at a nice pace, obviously, and so we were able to get in early January on the city council's priority project list for 2022.
Wow, okay.
So that was significant for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we felt that the next step, in conversation with several council members, we felt the next step was to get on a study session. Obviously, one of the biggest issues facing our community, our region, are water resources. So actually been several study sessions in January and into this month actually on water issues. And we wanted to get that whole subject of climate impacts on their radar, in the hopes that we would ultimately, as a community, hire a consultant, put out an RFP, whatever the process is that the city wants to pursue.
Nice. And we've been working together for years now
Yes.
of climate in this community. And it's really refreshing to see your growth over time because you're getting an audience with the city council that wants to maybe work with you. So first, kudos to you for never giving up and finding different ways to do that.
Right?
But how does it feel? So, hey, what is a study
Okay.
team, or what do you have to do with the city council? And then how does it feel to finally see where you came from to now you're potentially working with the city council to help our community out?
Well, it feels good.
Okay.
Obviously, when you do volunteer work, or any endeavor, I suspect, you like to see that your work's having some level of impact. And clearly raising awareness in the community over the last several years was a positive step forward. So we have a climate movement that was actually prepared to act. But candidly, the previous city council wasn't nearly as transparent. I'll come back to that in a second. But also, they wouldn't actually entertain conversation about climate impacts. And so, yeah, very, very refreshing. And then when the mayor and city council instituted, once again, a call to the public. In their first session, when they had a call to the public, we had 3 Protect speakers there on December 21st. And we went to the next 2 council meetings with several speakers in January as well. So I think that had a positive impact too, but also it was so important to allow citizens simply to express their opinions and not just complain, but offer solutions. And we think by performing this first step of undertaking a climate risk assessment that Sedona has done and Flagstaff and other climate action planning that's going on across the state and in the Southwest, that this was a good first step for our community to undertake.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea because we've seen a lot of development in the last 10 years here. And when I started at North Point, our first expedition was water conservation in the Southwest that evolved to climate change and sustainability. Right. So that's great that you're on the cusp of hopefully helping this community out because we're talking about sustainability for a long term where other generations can experience the same, city.
Yes.
And, like when I go running on trails, I've already seen some of the deforestation and other stuff like that. It's sad,
right,
but I'm happy for that. So what else does Protect do?
So in order to raise our voice and impact the larger community, we've been trying to reach out to other allies and stakeholders, like speaking before Prescott Audubon as an example, or collaborating with the League of Women Voters or Prescott Peace Builders, and our more traditional partners have been, like Climate Change Coalition, Northern Arizona Climate Change Alliance, the Sierra Club, Prescott Indivisible, the Prescott College. So that's been important, but we've also begun to reach out into the larger community. So actually, we just had a meeting recently with the mayor of Prescott Valley, and we're hopeful that we can undertake the same kind of focused campaign within other areas of the Quad Cities region. But obviously, we wanted to take opportunity that was in front of us, a window to jump through, or to work with our new Prescott City Council.
Nice. So with these climate risk studies, what do you think the studies will find? Or what do you think the results will be?
I think the results are kind of transparent, candidly.
Okay.
So we know we're in the middle of a 22, 23-year drought. We're already experiencing higher temperatures. Last summer, for example, we had 3 days over 100 degrees here. I mean, candidly, unheard of. We know, based on what's happening across the West and the Southwest, that the propensity for wildfires have increased. And last summer, I think there were something like 80 to 100 wildfires in Arizona. And of course, we had the Rafael wildfire, north of Chino Valley. So I think folks recognize, forget the science, I think folks recognize that these impacts are occurring now. So we don't think we need to persuade them. So the process and the study is designed to do some more engagement with the community around these issues, get a better understanding of what they portend for the future out to 2030 or 2050, but also to actually set that baseline framework. So it's one thing for Patrick Grady to get up and say X, Y, or Z, but it's another thing for a professional consultant to actually create that for the community. It's not too different from when the city of Prescott, I think he was called Downtown Doctor or Doctor Downtown, came to look at the Granite Creek and other things that the city could do. Probably folks in the community had similar ideas already, but bringing someone in to kind of put that envelope, that framework together makes a significant difference. And we're trying to build on the models that we've seen around the country and then again, be understanding of the culture that we live in, the political culture, the environmental culture, issues that are occurring, like you said, with respect to growth and with respect to water, and how does climate impacts and climate change impact those particular pieces that are also concerned to our community.
No, I agree. And as the years go on, I've noticed the more affects the drought, especially this year from last year, all the lakes in town have been super low. That has been normal. And plus we get 1 day precipitation each month. So it's hard. So you're talking about community engagement. And so let's focus on Earth Week. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. If everybody doesn't know, Patrick has been a part of Earth Week for a while. You work with different organizations. It's a really fun time. We always get North Point kids over there and get to see a lot of community involvement. So what is on the dock for Earth Week 2022?
Oh, it's a really, really ambitious schedule with a number of events, some of them even occurring simultaneously, so folks will actually have to make choices. But we all as a community will be kicking off Earth Week on April 22nd. Which is the global anniversary of Earth Day itself, which the theme this year is invest in the planet.
Okay.
That's the kind of the global theme. And so the Earth Day celebration, which occurs on the 23rd, that will be focusing on solutions. But on the 22nd, I said we'll have a kickoff for a town hall on the climate crisis that's being sponsored by Phoenix College. And they're coming up here candidly with some students, and they'll be having this forum, if you will, on the Prescott College campus. So that's a cool start. Then we'll be having a rally, as we typically do pre-COVID, on the Courthouse Plaza, probably around 4:30 again, to have speakers and music, and just it'll be good to gather again.
Yes.
In support to show the larger community that here's who we are and here's what the local climate movement looks like and here's what we're asking for and moving towards. Then thinking Sunday is Earth Care Sunday, so our efforts working through our Interfaith Climate Action Team, that I'm actually a part of as well, is to encourage faith communities to honor Earth Day and Earth Week by preaching from the pulpit about environmental issues and climate change and the like. And then, then we have a number of things during the week. We have a couple of speakers sponsored by the Sierra Club. They're talking about how to manage your investments with respect to climate change and sustainability and green investing, that kind of thing. So that's kind of cool during the week. We're going to have an interfaith service at First Congregational Church on one of those days. And we have two events that are new for us. The first one is that we're going to sponsor an event through the Protect campaign. We're going to sponsor an event yet to be titled, but really is about local climate solutions. Okay. So as we talked about a couple of moments ago, when we look at doing a climate risk assessment, it will appear to some that it's just another study. But no, it's a springboard to the exploration of local climate actions that we can take here in our individual quad cities. And so we've actually started some of that work with some films and other events throughout this campaign where we've kind of come around to, well, what are some things we could do locally? So now, towards the latter part of March, probably another one before Earth Week itself, and then on this particular day on Earth Week, we'll bring back to the community, here's what people are saying. Here's what they're saying we can get started on. I'll give you an example in talking to the mayor of Prescott Valley as an example. Their Chamber of Commerce is working with APS to put a charging station on the property of the Chamber of Commerce. So, looking at issues like that or opportunities like that is important. When you look at what the Prescott Public Market, Farmers Market has done with their composting grant that I think the city worked with them on as well. Composting has a direct relationship to climate and food and growing your own food, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of potential for taking local climate actions, and there's a lot of communities around our state that have been doing that. So that's a real key piece so that we don't go into this, I'll call it 90 to 120 day period where you're not hearing about this issue because there's a study going on. So we want to make sure that we've got other work that's going to explore what happens after this study, what's beyond a climate risk assessment.
Now that's good foresight, because you always want to keep the wheels turning with that.
Exactly.
Because what you're describing is like from the first time we sat down, it seems like you have a jam-packed schedule.
Yeah, right.
And it's nice that you have, all right, cool, this is what we're doing, here's where we're going. If you want to come with us, go. We'll take you to the next level.
Exactly. So it's not just a week in time, it's a week, frankly, being a harbinger of things to come. And then the highlight actually of the week for our campaign is the study session at 1 p.m. at Prescott City Council.
Really? So are you going to be presenting at 1 p.m.?
We are.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So,
do you need an audience?
Pardon me?
Do you need an audience for the
We do want an audience for that, and we're already thinking about how many folks do we want there, and how we can't fit them all into City Council, but we'd like, or into their chambers, but we'd like to show City Council which they know, but we'd like them to see the kind of level of community support that's out there on that day.
It's great because I think we've talked about it before, like, we can't really solve climate change, or the issues, but everything you're talking about is how we start locally,
Yeah.
And that's how we'll sustain in a warmer climate. Right?
Exactly. Well, there's an old saying out there, think globally, act locally.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you see impacts like at Paradise, California, with a tragic campfire that occurred there in 2018, and the significant human costs that occurred as a result of that wildfire, it's folks sometimes, well, that's over there, or storms in the Gulf Coast that have only grown into that. Well, that's down there. So I think that looking at ourselves locally, people can actually get invested, and so if they get invested in either their personal behaviors, as it might relate to climate action, but they can also join a movement to have it be more of a system impact in our region. And that's the hope, is why we're looking at it as a Quad Cities region, not just looking at it from the city of Prescott boundaries.
Oh no, that's our area, and we need to support all of the cities because, like you said, the ranching community and goes hand in hand with the water property, and then the food. So it's all just the chain of command, if you will, one ecosystem they have to live in. So no, I appreciate that. I want to talk more about the slogan this year is invest in the planet. Like what was the drive behind that, and what do you hope that overall message is for Earth Week?
So that's kind of the global national theme for Earth Day. They have a theme every year. And so that's the one that happened to be this year. But I think it's a really apropos for us, because what we're saying in the Protect campaign, invest in community preparedness. And so by undertaking this climate risk assessment, we're putting ourselves in a position to be prepared, to be more resilient, and to then begin to explore what kind of mitigation can we have on some of those impacts. And in some cases where perhaps we can't mitigate the impact, we can at least adapt to those changes that are going to occur.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Because again, we have to be on not alert, but like if anybody's observed nature in the last 5 years, at least for me, you see a difference. Like I was driving back from a run in Sedona, and I went up Jerome, and I don't remember the last time I saw that brown on that side of the hill. It was like super transparent. Like, wow, that's not normal for this time of year. Or the wildflowers, they're not even blooming when you go on the 17, when you go up to Flagstaff right now, because we haven't had hardly any precipitation.
Yeah, so the impact on our ecosystem is clearly already occurring. Even in my own yard, I'm losing trees, and obviously the forest is losing trees. So it's not just about wildfires, although that captures folks' attention,
especially here.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also about forest health, and how does all that affect our economic competitiveness? So, for example, just as you pointed out, you went to Sedona to do some running. I go to Sedona to do hiking as well, and we get bikers and all sorts of folks coming to Prescott and our area as a whole underpinning for our tourism economy. And so how do we adapt to the climate impacts that could negatively impact folks' perception of our community? So we need to be ahead of the game. And also, I think from a business perspective, and you may or may not recall, but I was at one time in my earlier life, I was director of economic development for the city of Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so you're always looking to be competitive. And when businesses are looking at either growing or moving to your local community, which we're obviously supportive of that type of growth in our community as well, recognizing that the city governments that are in our community are forward-looking and not burying their head in the sand about these climate impacts and what they portend for the future. I think it's very important for our community. So as you can tell by the words that come behind the Protect logo, it is all about the environment, it's about climate, it's about our economy, and it's about our quality of life.
No, I agree. It goes hand in hand, and everything you said is to the point, especially with what's going on in the world in 2022 right now with oil prices and whatnot.
Yeah.
We have to look for other options or other solutions, or else, as the temperatures rise, we're going to be saying bye-bye if you're not making changes and adapting. Patrick, it's always a pleasure to talk about environmentalism with you, Earth Week with you. I'm happy that Protect is going really well, and good luck with the study campaign. I'm sure next year you'll be on my show to talk about this. I hope we have a great update.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time on Five Senses. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Five Senses. These episodes wouldn't be complete without our sponsors and Five Senses magazine. For more information and more webcasts, log on to 5senses.mag.com, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.